Hello and welcome back to The Grueling Truth. This is The Grueling Truth NASCAR show. I'm your co-host, Joe Spilman, along with Ryan Peters and Steve Risley. Steve, we were almost late. We were almost late because of you.
Why?
Because it's 420.
Well,
tell us about.
I've never smoked a joint, never taken a puff of cigarette or marijuana in my life.
Tell us about the sales that are going on out in Malibu today.
They're everywhere. I mean, pot's legal out here, though. What do you expect? It's a big holiday. It's a state holiday.
At 420 is a state holiday in California.
Yeah, they all get it off. Everybody gets it off today, or gets off. I don't know what they do.
That's great, Steve. Nobody cares. Let's get into NASCAR. Anyway, let's talk about the minor leagues and then go over our picks a little bit. I didn't get a chance.
So we're going to talk about you then?
No, we're going to talk about you. Who do you want to talk about, Steve?
Well, you said the minor leagues. I thought we were just going to talk about you.
Oh, no, we're going to talk about the truck race at Bristol.
Oh, well, that's not the minor league.
I'm going to let Ryan talk about the truck race at Bristol a little bit because I didn't get a chance to watch the whole race because, as you know, Steve, I was in Birmingham, Alabama for the inaugural game of the USFL. I actually did watch the truck race because my boy Chase was driving in it. Yeah, I do know that Ben Rhodes won the race. Ryan, did you get a chance to watch it?
Yeah, I watched it. It was all right. The trucks seem like they get a little bit more hairier on the dirt than, say, the NASCARs. Yeah. So it was pretty good. Ben Rhodes kind of came out of nowhere to end up winning it at the end. He wasn't the most dominant driver, but
he Kyle Bushed it.
Not that bad. No, he led more than one lap. He did lead more than one lap, but yeah, I mean it was a good race. It was a pretty good show. It's not, obviously, don't want to rehash things, but it's not Eldora, but it was the best that the trucks can do for what they were presented, and I'm sure at the end of the day, Ben Rhodes was very happy that he came out with the win, and one of the very few times when one of the Hendrick drivers dropped down, they'd end up getting a win. So yeah. You mentioned Chase in it, and he ran well, but it seems like every time
he finished in the top 10, didn't he?
Yeah. I think he was around 6th or 5th the entire race.
Yeah. He was up front.
Every time a Hendrick driver drops down, they usually win, and then they win the very next day on Sunday. So I'm sure trying to get that streak going, but unfortunately for Chase, it didn't.
I watched the race too, Ryan, and my take just was simply this. NASCAR should really consider limiting, I think, for the overall general purpose, and we'll get into when we talk about the Bristol Cup race. The trucks fit the dirt. They just look good on the dirt. They have that light back end. They slide better. They look better. They crunch more than anything does anyway. So I just think that the dirt is just a natural fit for the trucks. Where I think it's an unnatural fit for the Cup cars. And Xfinity didn't run on the dirt. They didn't run, period, I don't think.
They didn't.
But they made the Cup thing work because of the ending of the race. It was a very good ending, but that was a crapshoot that ending was going to happen overall. But I like the trucks on the dirt at Eldora, at Bristol, at both of them. I mean, if I was running the Cup Series, I could see running Eldora and Bristol and putting two. Because I don't think you don't have any road courses in the trucks, do you?
Yeah, they did one last year.
Did they do one?
I'm trying to think. I'm not really sure, to be honest.
I don't know that there is a truck race on the road course.
Because I know the Xfinity goes to like Mid Ohio and they used to go to Canada, but I don't remember ever. Now that I think about it, I'm not really sure.
Well, let's get our unexcellent statistician to look it up, Joe. You're not doing anything important. Go ahead and look that up.
I'm not going to look it up right now either because that's going to. We'll just
typical detective cop corner.
We'll just pretend.
I'm not going to do an autopsy right now. He's got a bullet through his head. He's dead.
I will say, the reason why the dirt stuff I think does good with the trucks is before this year, the trucks were always built to beat and bang. and it's easier to do that and watch them race because they all, hit sideways and you don't have to worry about tire rubs. Hell, even when they spin out and they crush the back ends, it doesn't change to the truck because there's so much clearance there between it and the rear wheel that, they can handle that abuse. Now we've seen the cars advance and go to the carbon fiber bodies, and they can do that a little bit better now. But I think that's another reason why the trucks look so good at it is because they can actually withstand the beating and banging that, what most people view and tune in for trucks racing is because it's very aggressive racing.
Well, then there's one more obvious thing to add on to that, and that's a great analogy. Also, realistically, other than if you're a family member of one of the truck drivers, nobody gives a damn if a driver gets knocked out of the race or not anyway.
That's true.
It's like, Zane Smith got knocked out? Okay, great. Who am I going to chase? Elliott's still running. I'm rooting for the one gut guy down there.
Most of the people now are going, let's root for Haley Deegan. She's in 27th position.
That's me, baby. I'm rooting for Haley Deegan every race. The one truck. If Chase ain't running, I'm going for Haley. Haley, she ran in the top 10 one time I saw her, and then she thinks she finished in the 20th positions or somewhere down there.
I actually think this week it may not have been her season high, but she didn't do bad this week, I don't think, from what I saw. Yeah. I kind of want to echo what you guys said, though. I do agree that the trucks look a lot better on dirt, or they have in the past. Yeah. We'll get into it when we talk about the Bristol dirt race again, which the cars did much better this year. But let's move on past the minor leagues. Just real quick, Zane Smith still leading that series. Let's get into our picks from last week. As we already talked about, the Xfinity didn't run, so we're not going to go over that too much. But before we get into our picks, I want to remind you that The Grueling Truth is powered by Betting.net. Betting.net is your best bet for finding an online casino or sports book that's right for you. Steve, how was that?
Still sucked, but a little bit better.
I've been working day and night with my good pastor to get that.
If I was Betting.net, I'd fire your ass.
Oh, seriously?
Yeah.
They'd have to hire him first.
Yeah, Betting.net is a great place to go, Steve.
Yeah, it is, definitely. You don't sound like it is, though. You sound like you're going to go take a big crap that you haven't taken in 10 days.
Hey, Steve,
anyway,
this is off topic, but jumping in, Jay Wright just retired from Villanova.
Oh, no shit.
That's what it just said, so don't want
to – Did you just get a Twitter pop-up on your phone?
I did. I just popped that up.
This is a NASCAR show, Ryan.
But Steve has the IU jersey in his background, and I just feel like he should know.
And a championship ring here somewhere. Yeah. Right there.
Can you get that thing off still?
Huh?
Can you get that off?
Piece of cake.
Good job.
I wouldn't be talking about anybody chipmunk cheeks.
Quit it. Anyway, Steve.
Yo.
You did a great job on your picks this week.
I sure did. I scored with all 5 of my drivers.
You did. Who'd you have? I didn't write them down.
Larson, Bell, Elliott, Logano, and Blaney.
I wrote them down. You're right. You got 2 points for Blaney, who finished in the top 5. You got 2 points for Larson, who finished in the top 5. You got 1 point for Bell, who finished in the top 10. And you got 2 points for Logano, who finished in the top 5, and 1 point for Elliott, who finished in the top 5. So your weekly total this week is 8 points.
No, that's not important that I got 3 of the top 5, so I'm getting close.
You had great picks. It brings your season total, Steve, to 24 points.
Pretty good.
Good job.
Does that put me in the lead?
33% of your points.
We'll get there.
Does that put me in the lead?
What did I say? 24 points? I lied. You got 21 points.
That's what I thought. God,
yeah,
man. This guy's bad as Steve Harvey.
I think that's a 3-point penalty on Joe for not getting it right.
Wasn't quite as bad as Steve Harvey.
You're not Miss America?
I'm not Miss America.
Miss World, Miss Universe.
We're still talking about it.
Steve was getting ready to put it on his week winning.
But you know the chick that got falsely named and then lost? I follow her on Instagram.
I bet you do.
Smoking hot. And the other girl that won, not so smoking hot. So
those are both somebody's daughters, Steve.
And that's okay.
Do you
I'm
have
thinking
daughters?
of your daughter right now, looking at you. So.
Steve, do you have daughters?
No,
Well, that's why you're talking like that then.
Not stupid.
Ryan Peters.
I have one 6'4" Adonis of a son.
I went 5 for 5 myself and couldn't even get the week winner.
How many
That's
points
tough.
do you think you got this week?
I got 7, right?
Yeah, you did. You got 2 points for Reddick. You got 2 points for Larson. You got 1 point for Bell, 1 point for Bowman, and 1 point for Elliott.
Who won this week?
You did.
No. Who won the race this week?
Oh, yeah. Well, Kyle Busch obviously won the race.
Oh, well, which of the three of us, is that like our favorite driver, our mega god?
We've already hashed this out. I don't
well,
pick them to not
people don't
jinx
listen
them, and
Sunday night. They listen. You know, they were still doing an Easter egg on Sunday night.
Did you think look, I sometimes don't pick my favorite driver. Sometimes I do. Did you think he had a chance to win the race?
Every time he's on the track, I do.
Then why don't you pick him every week?
Because I deem that the privilege and the higher power that I have by picking him is negative energy, because I bring that type of energy to that, and I want it all in Kyle's hands, and it worked perfect. It was a divine intervention going into turn 4, and it was like God looked down on Easter Sunday and said, you know what, these two cars are going to wreck because Ryan didn't pick this guy to win, and boom, he's in victory lane, and I win anyway. So,
are you one of these people that can only watch a sporting event live because you feel that your aura and your energy is projected onto the game?
No, not. I don't watch things I bet on. That is something I can't do. I'm a baseball guy. There's like a lot of superstitious
So if you were Pete
stuff.
Rose, you could never even go to the ballpark.
Well, you would know that I didn't bet on the Reds because I would be there. How about that?
Fair enough. Ryan, you got 7 points this week, which brings your total to 18 points. But as we talk about every week, I want to caveat Ryan's total because he did not pick for the first 2 weeks. So good job.
I'm trying.
I picked Logano, Elliott, Larson, Alex Bowman, and Chase Briscoe. Chase Briscoe decided to
send it.
Yeah. Chase Briscoe decided to shit the bed on everybody. And I didn't get any points for him, but I still didn't have a bad week. I came out of the week with 6 points, and I am still currently leading with 24 points. So I'm still winning, Steve.
We had a great week.
We did. People should have looked. You know what they should have done, Ryan? They should have listened to our picks and then went over to betting.net to see what sportsbook or casino is right for them and place a couple bets based on our picks. That's what they should have done.
That's a professional segue, Steve.
What do you think about that, Steve?
Into what?
He's not even paying attention.
I don't gamble. I'm far too materialistic to gamble. If I'm going to have money in my hands, I'm not going to give it to some sports book because they're going to win more times than me. I'm smart enough to realize that somebody's paying for the lights in Las Vegas and it ain't the hotels. Okay? So I just don't gamble. I don't gamble, period. I'd rather go to Target or to Walmart and buy some stuff I don't need that goes in my garage and sits there. Noodles for the pool. Rather noodles for the pool.
Those noodles are amazing. You know how many different things you could do with those noodles?
I don't want to know what you do with them. You live in Vevey, Indiana.
Vevey, Steve. Vevey. Yeah. Let's talk about
I know where men are men and the cows are scared to death.
Hey.
Especially guys with noodles.
Hey. Let's talk about this week's race again. We talked about it a lot on the post-race show. Let's kind of rehash some of that. We've had a couple of days to think about the race and the ending.
Well, cover your quotes you got here.
What are you talking about?
Well, here, Bristol recap here. Kyle Busch, here, Ryan, this is for you. Kyle Busch says dirt track racing took NASCAR backwards, then he won Bristol. What do you think of that statement?
Steve, we were getting to that.
Well, we got to move forward here. You said you got to be done in an hour. All right. I got shit to talk about today. Go.
Yeah. Listen,
Ryan.
I'll go. So
Kyle Busch says dirt track racing took NASCAR backwards. Then he won Bristol. What do you think
how
about
you feel
that
about that, Ryan?
He was quoting.
Shut up, Joe.
The King. So it wasn't technically Kyle's quote. It was a quote from Kyle quoting Richard Petty. But, I think at the end of the day, there's a lot of people that spoke out against this dirt race, and only one of them could win. I'm glad it's the guy that I root for. Kyle Larson didn't have anything good to say about this race before the race started. Kevin Harvick in the middle of the race had nothing good to say about it. I think obviously he doesn't hold as much water, considering that dude is like a lap down after about 10 laps. So I think at the end of the day, you see these racers and where they've had success on multiple surfaces. Kyle Busch actually just won a dirt race a couple days ago. His son won last night. So, I think at the end of the day, they don't have to like it, but you have to listen to what they're saying about it, because it holds more water for somebody that's successful at it and complains versus somebody that finished 39th and complains. If it's a bunch of guys that are running the tail end of the field and they're all bitching about it. Are you talking
about Kevin Harvick?
Yeah, anybody. I mean, I think Kevin Harvick being point number one, but I think anybody. Nobody's going to care about who's finishing 35th every Sunday and what they had to say about the dirt race. It's the people that are actually really good at the sport, the former NASCAR champion last year, and then a two-time champion in Kyle Busch. I think a lot of people are going to listen to that and see why it is they believe that.
Yeah. All right, let me ask you a question.
What's up?
Let me ask both of you guys a question then. Are we mislabeling this race really, truly, and we just have our butts up in a sling over the dirt race because maybe we don't like the dirt race? But, you have to realize including most of the drivers, there are a lot of people that don't like Daytona and Talladega because of the wrecks and the crap that goes on. And here's my question for you guys. Has this race just become like Talladega or Daytona, where it's just an unknown race? You go into a road course, you kind of expect Larson or Elliott or Truex to kind of dominate that race and win that race. You could probably throw Logano in, but one of those four guys, barring any stupid things, is likely going to win that race when they go to dirt or the road course. Talladega, you got Michael McDowell came away with a win. You got who won Daytona this year?
Chase Briscoe,
first time winner.
Or I'm sorry, Austin Cindric ended one.
Austin Cindric, even a guy that who the hell thinks Austin Cindric is going to win Daytona? I mean, none of us would have picked him to win Daytona. So is Bristol in the dirt really just become the same thing where it's just an unknown quantity? Here you go. This race was decided on the last lap for whatever stupid reason it was. And like I said in our post-race show, to me, this thing is the dead ghost or goose that laid the golden egg. We all were poo-pooing this race. We were going back and forth on the phone or texting each other, John, about it. And then we come up, the last three laps are as exciting as hell. The last lap is the best lap we've had in the sport all year long so far.
Well, Steve,
I'll let you go.
Yeah, right. Has this race just become just like my question is become like Talladega? We maybe don't like it because we have no idea who's going to end up winning this race. We don't know who the dirt specialists are. We know some of them, but we don't know all of them.
I don't think in reference to us, I don't think it's become like Talladega. I mean, super speedway, Daytona, Talladega, Atlanta now, they're going to be crap. You never know who's going to come away with the win here. Just like you said, just like on dirt. I think my issue, Steve, is not with a dirt race in particular. My issue is a hybrid form of dirt racing. And as a fan of sprint car racing and dirt modifieds, I like the format of that race. And I know we've talked about this over and over. I don't think that you hold a race on dirt and have a hybrid form of dirt racing. It's either a dirt race. What they did at Eldora when the trucks were going to Eldora was great. I loved watching that. And just the way that the trucks are built, I think they do better on dirt. They look better. They look like they should be out there. The cars didn't look bad this week. We talked about that on the post race show. They actually look really good. It looked like a dirt race. I have an issue with holding that dirt race at Bristol. I don't like the fact that there's not 2 races at Bristol this year on the paved track. It was already a great race. You've taken away, 2 times a year we got to watch the races at Bristol, and there's some of the better short track races out there, if not the best. And you've taken one of those options away now, and that's what I don't like. I think the drivers don't like it because you're absolutely right. I think the drivers don't like unpredictable tracks. That's why they don't like super speedways. That's why they complain about the dirt. I think that Joey Logano or Chase Elliott or Kyle Larson like to go into a track, a road course or a short track or a 1.5 mile track that they've raced at 15 times and know exactly where they're going to run and have the same game plan. From week to week on any given dirt track in America, you can't have the same game plan. You can't have the same game plan on the first lap as you have on the 50th. So I don't necessarily want to compare it to a Talladega or a super speedway race, but I think there are some issues there that are not conducive to holding a dirt track race at Bristol.
And I'd go into that saying I actually think it's the most predictable race we've had yet. I think that's why we did so well in our picks, because we literally did one thing. We looked to had dirt experience. Chase Briscoe, dirt experience, had a chance to win that race. Kyle Larson, dirt experience, was in the top. It worked his way from 20th all the way into the top 10 and stayed there. Christopher Bell, dirt experience, was fighting in the top 5 for most of that race. Kyle Busch has had dirt experience. Chase Elliott has raced in the Chili Bowl before. And I think at the end of the day, the guys that we thought would be the usual players when it came to possible dirt racing were all up there. And I think the only difference why this year versus last is because this year actually looked like a dirt race. Last year, to me, did not look like a dirt race. Cars were hardly sideways. They were just going really slow. It looked more like an ice race. Like they were scared if they turned it sideways, they'd never control it. This year, they got a little bit more sideways, and it looked like more of a representation of dirt. I think you allude to possibly the numbers. It had really good ratings. There's 4 million views on the Jeff Gluck poll. It was around 64%. Well, anytime the 18's in victory lane, that typically brings it down on top of it. But I think at the end of the day, where we differ is not was the product sufficient on the track. It was how was it set up to be through the entire process. I think a lot of us have an issue with the process that is Bristol, whether it's not heats, whether it's not, traditional qualifying through the heat races, and then the mandatory cautions, the random cautions where you can just make up a rule that you want to have a caution and screw at least one driver that way. I think the process is what we're having a problem with, not really necessarily the actual racing compared to this year. Now, a lot of those statements were made before we even got on the track. Maybe things have changed a little bit. But, Joe, the only counterpart that I would have for you now, playing a little bit of devil's advocate, we thought Martinsville would be a great race. And it's the worst race all year long, bar none. Mm-hmm. Maybe one of the worst races that we've seen in 5 years. It was absolutely terrible. The only way that we can now say that we missed 2 Bristol races is if in the summer Bristol puts on a good show. If it's an absolute shit show that's anywhere close to Martinsville, we'll be looking at the dirt race and say, man, that was the best Bristol short track race that we've had the entire year. We just simply don't know that yet because we're going on what short track racing used to be versus what we've seen so far this year.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with that. I don't know that I've ever seen a bad race at Bristol. I don't
remember seeing a bad race at Martinsville, but by God,
that's true.
What we got was absolutely terrible.
Steve, before you make your point, I want to make this point. When you alluded to, cautions being thrown for reasons or made up cautions because people had dirt in their grill. And Ryan, you sent me a text during the race. I don't know if you remember sending, but
I wasn't that drunk.
Yeah. Why don't the trucks have this problem? How come the trucks can go out there and run a full race and not have to take these phantom cautions for mud in a particular place on the vehicle where the driver doesn't want it? but the cars do. Do you have an answer?
I don't know. It's just it really. I think a lot of people learned last year about the mud. I thought the mud was more of a problem last year. The only people that had a problem this year were Stewart-Haas Racing. And the one guy that did have a problem at the very beginning, Cole Custer, ended up getting screwed out of it because he had to go to pit road because, everything was all jacked up when it came to the mud on the front of his car. They throw a caution exactly for that reason, and the guy still gets 2 laps down. And again, that's part of the process that pisses us off. They go, man, NASCAR's not running this the way it should be. But every time the cars were on the track, I thought we saw a good product.
Yeah, I can't disagree with you. Steve?
Well, I just listen to both of you guys talk. I'm just saying this is my analysis of what you guys said. Here's what I think. I think we're judging this too early. It's only the second dirt race they've run, and it got better. Both of you admitted it's a better product than it was the first year.
100%.
All right, drivers, 100%, and I guarantee you, more NASCAR drivers went to Chili Bowl because of Bristol, because Elliott had not gone to Chili Bowl before Bristol,
right,
on the dirt. And then Larson took him this year and showed him how to run dirt and taught him how to run on dirt. And Elliott finished in the top 7 or 8. I think he's 7th or 8th, one of the two.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think now what you're going to see, are we just being too judgmental and not quite as curious? Walt Whitman said, in your life, learn to be a lot more curious and a lot less judgmental. Let's be curious about this and say, why did the dirt bother the Cup cars and not bother Haas? Or did bother Haas more than anybody? I noticed all of them have catch grills on the front of their radiators. And Haas probably just came up with a bad design.
Except for Chase Briscoe. Chase Briscoe didn't have dirt on the front of his vehicle the entire
Chase
time.
Briscoe was out front most of the time, too. He was leading, so you don't get dirt.
He did work his way all the way back up from the back at one point.
Yeah, but he can't. You're going so fast and passing cars, and I don't think you ride behind somebody, especially if you're going to try and ride that high line where all that loose dirt is. But for the first stage, Briscoe was out front, and his car looked like brand new, clean off the showroom floor, and everybody else looked like a big mud ball. Yeah. But you could see other cars weren't spitting the water out of the release spout because they put those catch grills on it. Hendrick seemed to have it right down. None of their cars overheated at all. So whatever they did to protect that radiator worked. Even though the grill was still caked with mud, it was not affecting the air intake of the radiator.
And Steve, to go off of that, I think teams kept it more close to best on their own personal teams than even their own teammates. Because
of course they can.
You're right. Like Denny Hamlin and Martin Truex Jr., they still had issues. But Kyle Busch and Christopher Bell didn't have none. It seemed like the guys that have actually run on dirt before said, this isn't the right way to do it. This is a better idea of how to do this. And they didn't share it with their teammates because at the end of the day, they're still racing against them. And the guys that, typically run on dirt had no issue when it came to that stuff at all. And the guys that don't run anything else besides NASCAR, I thought really suffered.
Yeah, and I think what you're going to see now is, like I said, I think we're just trying to pass judgment on this too early and maybe not giving it enough time. Who's humming?
Nobody? No.
Nobody else hears the humming?
I cannot hear humming.
We must be having an earthquake out here.
That or you stopped at that 420 shop just a little bit too long.
No reason to go there. And I just think this year you're going to see even more NASCAR drivers enter and show up at the Chili Bowl. It will not surprise me if Stewart-Haas mandates all of his drivers go to the Chili Bowl. I mean,
and that's a good thing. That's great.
Tony
for
Stewart ran
the
That's great for everything.
No, it's great. No, I'm with you 100%. But Tony Stewart dominated the Chili Bowl at times when he was running. He was a dirt track specialist. That's where he grew up on, is the dirts in Southeast Indiana.
Right.
Hey,
so I think you're going to see more and more. I think NASCAR as a whole will figure out a rules package and not be on the fly what we thought was on the fly. It probably is in the rule book somewhere, You know, that rule book to NASCAR is about that thick. You know, and
Looks like
nobody. It's kind of like Biden's Build Back America bill. You know, that thing's 800 pages long, and on page 423 and 1, 2, 4 sentences it says, "Oh, by the way, we enact 21% pay raise to all members of Congress, Senate and House." So nobody ever gets that far to read that. So we don't know that they gave themselves a 21% pay raise in that bill.
Well, Steve, there's a lot of words in those things.
Okay. Yeah, I know. So it takes me back to one comment. Now, you guys both made this. You thought so because I walked away as pissed off as you guys did Sunday night, but the more I thought about it, the more I listened on NASCAR radio to the talking. NASCAR said it was successful to them. Bristol said it was successful. They want to get more fans, and this race may put more fans in the stand. But NASCAR, even to the point, Joe, I hope I'm not stealing your thunder, but they've already announced that they're coming back next year.
Yeah, yeah.
So we're going to have dirt number 3 at Bristol. It's going to be right now. It's on the verge of becoming an annual event. The dirt race is made its mark and is going to stick. But here's the thing. Are we treating dirt differently than we should? Because we just talked about Martinsville. What was the reason Martinsville you think was such a crappy race? 1 4-letter word.
What's that, Steve?
Cold. It was cold there. They couldn't get the tires warmed up. They couldn't run. They couldn't pace the cars fast enough. The tires never got hot enough there at Bristol to get the speeds they wanted, to get the banging and bumping going on. If they tried to pick up the speed too much, it just made for a parade because felt like they were riding on ice skates all the way around.
Yeah, it was
all right. So we don't sit there and blame the cold for a miserable race. None of you guys brought up. I asked you what was the one thing that made that race miserable. I gave you the answer, and you both agreed with me. It was cold, but we don't chastise cold. That's just part of the environment, right?
So we're not going to yell at God cold on Easter.
Well, God started this earth off as all dirt. All right. Asphalt's a man-made thing. All right. Let me tell you about that. Okay. God did not invent asphalt.
The only difference I would say with you, Steve, again, is that NASCAR in a lot of people's minds and a lot of people's that's followed this sport has lost all semblance of getting a second chance when it comes to getting things right. I think the reason why NASCAR didn't announce that there was going to be a third dirt Bristol race like last year, they did it in the middle of the during the middle of the program, because they themselves didn't know if it was going to be a good show. And if the numbers didn't objectively say that people watched it,
well,
I think that they weren't
going to.
Right. But now they can. It's easy to say that now. Oh, yeah, sure, we did great. And then if it was
were we too harsh on it? Were we too harsh on the race?
No, I don't think we are. I think the thing that we want to see is them get it right. And I think they still have ways to try to get it right. And if you're going to give constructive criticism, now if we sit here and bitch and don't come up with any answers, then you're right. Then we're just 3 idiots talking with no semblance of how to figure things out. But at the end of the day, we're giving ways that we think this could be a better product for everybody to enjoy, not just us.
Well, there's no doubt. There's no doubt that experience in driving on dirt is going to improve the quality of racing. I think you'll see teams kind of push their drivers more toward running events such as the Chili Bowl. And there are tons of other events like that all throughout the country. Chili Bowl is just one of the more famous ones. It's so famous. Chili Bowl's so famous you can only get it on pay-per-view. It's not even televised anymore. You have to get pay-per-view to watch it. So that's how big Chili Bowl is.
I got two things, Steve.
NASCAR, let me finish this real quick, then you can have it. NASCAR will get the rules package down for dirt. I think that they're trying to marry their cars, their horsepower, their size with the gospel rules of dirt track racing. I mean, I'm sitting here staring on my wall right now. I have the original 11, 12, 13, 14, 13 rules of basketball. I have them, a copy of. We met James Naismith's grandson in Atlanta in 2002, and he signed a copy. And I have a lithographed copy of the original rules of basketball as written by James Naismith. 13 rules. Now, I can tell you right now, those rules have been modified and changed so much. If we played basketball today, like the rules were laid out, we would never watch basketball because it's an awful sport. It'd be an awful sport.
Hey, was one of the original rules was you could only take 3 steps while dribbling, then you had to pass?
No, it doesn't. No, it says you get 1 step,
Okay.
1.5 steps,
right.
and you have to get rid of the ball in 1.5 steps. That's a modification. That's a European modification. That's called European rules. And the NBA and now college has adopted those rules into their game. But I think over time NASCAR is going to take a look at the rules that dirt track employs. They're going to modify them to fit their equipment and the track they're racing on. I don't know what track would be better to turn into dirt than Bristol. I name one that would be better to do, unless
How about one that's just a dirt track already?
Right, unless they went to somewhere like Bowman Gray, and which is a cinder track right now. I mean, it's a smaller track that may be too small, but take Rockingham and just tear it up and make it a permanent dirt track. And Andrew Petrie owns Rockingham, and go with him and say, hey, if you want to turn this into a dirt track race, a dirt track, you can run midgets and sprints here all year long. We'll run trucks here, and we'll run the cup cars here, and we'll run modifieds or whatever else we got. NASA, the Wheeling Series, we'll run them here. We'll keep you busy, but this becomes our home of dirt track. So let's give it time. It's a much better product than it was last year. The ending was fun. I had no stake in the game because my driver wasn't going to win. Although I always pick my driver. You guys, there's never a race goes by, you're not going to hear Chase Elliott on my list of 5 or 10 drivers to choose, 5 drivers. He's always going to be there. So that's okay with me. But that's my thought process on it, having rethunked this since Sunday night to tonight. Joe, you were going to say?
I have 2 things, and I patiently waited to say.
And I apologize, but I'm
no, it's okay.
I'm long-winded, or I'm a great orator.
Yeah, you said that you kind of rethunk it or changed your opinion after listening to NASCAR radio, and
I'm changing my opinion.
Okay, don't do that. That's how you become a Democrat. And number 2,
Joe, you know what? I'm an independent. I vote for whoever I think the best person for the job. I don't give a damn what party they align with. I want somebody in there I can trust that'll do the best job for this country.
As Chris Rock said, it was a joke, Steve.
All right.
Number 2, I don't think, and I agree with a majority of what you just said. I don't think we're being too critical. I agree that the race from last year to this year is 100 times better. There's no question. Right. We even saw the car sliding around the track this year, which after the race last year, I didn't think there was any way. So it did look like a dirt race this year, and it did appear to be better. I do think that what is Bristol, 0.54 miles, just over half a mile, barely. Yeah. I think maybe that's just a little bit too big for a dirt race anyway. I could be wrong. Lawrenceburg Speedway is 3/8 of a mile, and that's to me is the perfect size for a dirt race when I go there. I know I go to Florence Speedway. I think that's a little bit bigger. Ryan, I don't know if you've been up there.
Yeah, it's a lot flatter, obviously. Honestly, Lawrenceburg is probably the closest you could get to Bristol. The difference is it's extremely wide. I mean, there's only 2 lanes at Bristol that these cars can race on. And if they were to go to somewhere like Lawrenceburg, while it doesn't have the length, it has the width that makes dirt racing possible.
Right.
Remember the downside of this, Joe. You shorten that track up anymore. I believe in this race Sunday. Chase Briscoe was lapping cars 10 laps into the race.
Yeah, they started lapping.
So you make it any shorter, you're going to take a lot of drivers out of the race. You're going to have somebody. You may have one driver good enough to lap the entire field. Back in the old days of Richard Petty winning by 6 or 7 laps.
Well, you see that on.
You got to put some length on it.
Dirt race, though.
Well, you got to remember too. These cars are, I would guess, 16 foot long, somewhere in that range is the length of one of these cars. I don't know what the length of a NASCAR is.
I don't know either.
I know this car has a longer wheelbase than previous NASCAR, so it's somewhere between, I would guess, 14 to 16 feet. I'm guessing. That's a guess. But if you're right now lapping people within 10 laps, I remember him saying or Hamlin went a lap down 10 laps into it. He got, he just was at the back of the pack and he got lapped. So now you start putting that many people behind by shortening that track up. You're going to take a lot of the hoops, and people that are loyal to one driver may just shut it off and say, my drivers don't like dirt, hate dirt, not real racing. My driver can't show what he's got. Flip it off and go watch the 10 Commandments.
Yeah.
So 5.5 mile is about as short as I'd want to run these fast stock cars on dirt.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying, but also, short track racing in general, having to deal with lap traffic is a huge part of the race. Especially
they
at the end of the
lap
race.
traffic. Yeah, they dealt with it. 10 laps, they were dealing with it.
I think at the end of the day, my take is going to be, I'll watch Bristol next year. Obviously, I didn't think it was a horrible race. I would just like them to be on a real dirt track. So
that's fair, and that's fair, and that's why I said, take Rockingham, bring it back to life, and just tear up the asphalt permanently and turn it into a straight dirt track. Rockingham's, I think, a little smaller than Bristol, isn't it?
Yeah, no.
Right about the same size?
I think Rockingham's
is it 3/4?
It's 3/4. It's almost like a square, right? It's
Yeah.
almost like a square or a trapezoid or whatever.
I could buy one track being the home of dirt for NASCAR. I could buy that, and then all three series can run there. Run their separate weekends. Don't make it all one weekend thing. So you fill that stadium up and make it viable for Andy Petrie, or if he still owns Rockingham, I don't know if he does. I know he did it one time. For him to go ahead and do that.
Well, one thing's for sure. At the end of the day, the more we've talked about this for, the post-race show, the weekly show here tonight. One thing's for sure. At the end of the day, I don't think the majority of people watching NASCAR agree with what I'm saying or really our complaints because, 4 million people tuned in to watch Bristol, and it was the highest rated race of the year. I
would disagree with that, Joe. I think that you can tune in and be interested in something and maybe not completely buy into what you're watching. I think I think the whole purpose of putting it on dirt is to get people to watch. Now, whether they love it is something different. And like Steve said, it is very new. So even if you missed it 1 year, you may now tune in, and NASCAR is on the rise itself. It got a 60% vote on was it a good race. So, do you equate 60% of people who vote on, not Jeff Gluck's poll's not obviously representative of the entire audience of NASCAR, but, there's races that had much higher votes, and then there's also races that have had much higher viewership. And I think at the end of the day, it's what do you think you're going to get? And I think that unknownness and that what-if factor of what could be Bristol dirt, I think that still holds true.
I'll tell you what, where are we going next week? We all know where we're going.
Deegan.
Right.
Talladega. I'm just going to be hard-pressed for Talladega on a Sunday afternoon to top 4 million viewers.
I think so, too.
I think it's going to be really – and Talladega is one of the biggest races on the NASCAR circuit. There is. I mean, it's one of the most anticipated races. Who's not giddy about Deegan next weekend?
I don't. If you're a NASCAR fan, you get excited every time you hear Bristol, and every time you hear Talladega. I mean, just hands down.
And right in that loop is Daytona and Martinsville.
And
I always thought that about Martinsville. You got the hot dogs and you got the grandfather clock.
And I would say,
and no damn hot dogs.
Yeah,
actually, they ran out of hot dog buns.
Atlanta Motor Speedway. I can't wait till the race.
Yeah, I can't wait to get back to Atlanta either to see that.
But yeah, I mean, this is one of the This is one of the all-time
It's a
favorites.
signature track. Their signature tracks.
Yeah. So before we absolutely get into Talladega this week, though, I want to remind everybody again that the Grueling Truth is powered by betting.net. It's your best place to find an online casino or sportsbook that's right for you. Ryan, do you have any last takes on Bristol, or are we ready to move past that?
This isn't a take on Bristol. This is something that I don't think a lot of people are talking about in NASCAR. I think when you put NASCAR at a night track on Sunday, I think that helps people watch too. I think one of the biggest reasons why Martinsville, number one, wasn't watched because it was on FS1, but number two, it was on a Saturday night. And there's a lot of things people got to do on a Saturday night. If you can sit down 7 o'clock at night and watch a NASCAR race, that's a lot better than 2 o'clock to me to do that. And I think
What race were you talking about? What race were you talking about Saturday night at 7 o'clock?
Martinsville race.
Oh, Martinsville. Okay.
Yeah. And I think, putting the race at night, I think they should look at doing more Sunday night races. It's probably not great for people driving in for the next day. But at the end of the day, if they're going to make decisions based on viewership, then they really don't need to worry about people making it to the track anyway.
Yeah. Yeah. Attendance was poor at Bristol.
Yeah, it was terrible.
It was terrible. I've never seen Bristol. It appeared on television. I had never seen that many empty seats at Bristol at the Coliseum there.
No, the only time I remember that is when they've been rained out on a Sunday, and then they had to race on a Monday or Tuesday.
Yeah. That's the only reason why they do dirt at Bristol in the spring. It's because attendance for the spring race was terrible. A lot of people were saving up to go to the night race in the summer. Not a lot of people were going to the day race in the spring. That's the whole reason why Speedway Motorsports Incorporated decided to put dirt at Bristol to help with attendance. It probably didn't help a lot. I think that the way that track, if you've ever been there, it's so spread out. It's huge. So, whenever you only got one section on the front stretch at most of these tracks and it looks packed, it's totally different than when you go to Bristol and it's got, 175,000 seats all the way around. So, there could be 80,000 people there and it looks like nothing based on the way that track's laid out.
Well, I used to go to Bristol every year, and I've been to both the spring and the fall race. And I've been there on years where the spring race has been just as packed, I thought, as the fall race. So
I can tell you what I'd do right now. If I was going to a place like Talladega, I'd take my big Winnebago that I don't own, but I would rent one, and I would find a nice parking spot and pay my $2,000 to park it there in the infield on the alley, or what's called Party Alley, and hang out. And I would hang around, enjoy the crowd, enjoy the atmosphere of Talladega. And as soon as that race started, my ass would be parked in my Winnebago watching the damn race on TV.
You wouldn't be one of them guys that got up on top of your camper with your shirt off.
I'd be sitting in the air conditioning right in there with my feet propped up and the grill cooking outside and watching the race on TV, rather than sit in the stands and try and watch it there.
I kind of pictured you as a guy that would take your shirt off at a race, Steve.
No. My days of taking my shirt off are long gone.
Let's
I'm no Ryan. I'm no Ryan. I don't have a body like his.
Yeah, I look like saran wrap mayonnaise. You don't want to see this either.
Saran wrap mayonnaise.
Steve, tell me.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, tell me what you think about Talladega and what you think we're going to see this week.
Well, here's what scares me about Talladega is we have, 10 spots filled now? 10 of the 16 spots are now filled with Kyle being a first-time winner, even though he's got 60 wins in the Cup Series now.
9 spots. What'd you say?
No, there's 10 spots filled, aren't there?
9 winners in 10 races.
Yeah,
9 winners. I thought it was 10 out of 11. Okay, so.
Yep. 9 spots.
Right, so we have 7 spots left. I keep going down that list. You've got Blaney. You've got Elliott. You've got Logano hasn't won yet. You got Harvick has not won. Truex has not won. You have a lot of big name drivers in the sport. You got the young guns coming up. The Tyler Reddicks. I'll tell you what, Bubba Wallace is a guy who's finished in the top 3, like 2 or 3 of the last super speedway races. He's going to screw up and win one of these things one of these times, because he's always up front on the last 3 or 4 laps. And he's going to pull a Kyle Busch and just, be in the right place at the right time. And bless Kyle's heart for doing that. I don't fault that at all. That's part of racing. But you got a lot of guys who have not guaranteed themselves a spot, and you're running low on spots. So Talladega holds a little extra to me this year. Some guys got to be a little more careful and make sure they take care of their equipment, and got to keep their cars up front and out of the melee, or hang way back until the end and try and push your way through. But I think this is one of the most important Talladegas for the reason of qualifying for the playoffs we've had in a long time, because so many first-time winners so far in the series. So big race, unknown, just like Bristol ended up being. We have no idea who's going to pull it out. It could be a Chase Elliott, and it could be a Tyler Reddick, somebody we just don't expect to pull it out. It could be a Harvick is in the right place at the right time and gets his win and goes back to mediocrity, yet he's in. So a lot more pressure on teams that have not won yet to win. It's one of the last best opportunities to luck yourself into a win.
Pretty good take. Ryan.
I think I would echo what Steve was saying. And, I think right now if I'm Tyler Reddick, I really feel sick to my stomach, because you mentioned the wild card that is restrictor plate racing. I mean, there's no other track or format that produces more first-time winners, only-time winners, or,
unexpected winners.
Yeah, unexpected winners, things of that nature. And at the end of the day, when you have a victory almost in your pocket and you don't have it, now pressure builds. And we know what happens when pressure happens in sports. It leads to mistakes. And I think you see these people like a Ryan Blaney, who most of us think should have a win by now, but have been let down by his pit team. Even a Chase Elliott feels like he should have a win right now, but he's been let down by his crew chief and some of the mistakes that he's made, when to pit, how often to pit, or even the pit road production while he's in there. I think you see drivers like that, they go, especially depending on who's leading, I cannot let this guy win, because that, again, just eliminates another spot for me. Mm-hmm. And I think that while you want to try to make things as not unpredictable as possible, I think that's the only thing Talladega and Daytona produce is unpredictability.
Right.
And you mentioned right now, the worst thing that could happen to these drivers is an Eric Jones, Michael Medell, or Bubba Wallace win. If one of those guys,
Spinhouse, because he can win at these tracks
exactly
too.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's mostly because he takes out half the field. But at the end of the day, if one of those guys end up winning this race, you now have your calendar and you're going, well, shit, I don't run good here, so I probably ain't going to get a win here. I don't run good here. I'm not going to get a win here. And I think, come stage 2 or stage 3, especially stage 3, they're going, I got to find a way to get up to the front. And you know what happens whenever, again, we see these things and you try to push the issue, mistakes are made. And,
especially at Talladega.
Yeah, and I think that it's really good for NASCAR to have it this way. You said who doesn't get excited for restrictor plates? Well, I'm a Kyle Busch fan, so never get excited for that.
He's got to win, though, so this year you can get excited.
Exactly. That's great.
You can even pick him to win this week.
And I will not, but I think going into this race, those are the guys I'm looking at. I'm looking at big-name drivers that have yet to get a win, and when do they decide to push the issue? Are they going to hard bump draft because they're tired of sitting behind Cody Ware for 4 laps and get the hell out of the way? And then it ends up causing a big wreck. Or do they try to make a gamble on pit road? I think those things are things that we'll see. And,
what's even worse, Ryan, is 5 cars ahead of you. You got somebody who's never come close to winning a race thinking he can win. He causes the wreck because he can't, he causes it and then catches, Chase Elliott or Blaney or somebody else. Somebody who's got a great car and just sitting back there trying to pick their way through, they get caught up in somebody else's stink show.
Right.
And that's the real fear. That's the real fear. Go ahead and finish, and then we'll give it to Joe.
Oh,
I have one more comment, but I'll save it for the end.
Okay. No, I was just going to say,
Ryan does. Ryan, are you done?
No, the only thing that I'd say that I wouldn't be surprised this week, and this will be short, is that the guys that have already won, I think they hang out in the back. I think they literally are hanging out in the back. They'll let everybody else pussyfoot around, half the field get eliminated, and then maybe they become players in the last 15 laps. I just don't see this year those type of guys saying, you know what, let's go ahead and fight our way to the front. I think we'll see a lot more guys that have already won hang out in the back and let everybody else handle business. And when half the field's gone, then I think you'll see them kind of late in the game.
Everybody but Chase Briscoe.
Maybe. We'll see.
What do you got, Steve?
Joe, you don't have any feelings?
I mean, I really, with both your experts, I really don't have anything to add other than
we knew that.
Yeah, so I mean, I don't want to just keep re-saying the same thing you guys were saying. It's going to be a great race, and we have no idea who's going to win. Well,
I'll tell you what. Now, as a fan of the sport, okay, and knowing I have one driver that I get behind 100% of the time, right now I'm rooting for repeat winners. Okay, I really want to see the same 9 guys that have won go out and win a few more races. I'm glad that Byron won 2 races now. I hope some other guy. I hope Larson gets another win. I hope Bowman gets another win. Yeah, I hope they all do until Elliott gets his win.
Absolutely.
Because
that's funny.
I don't want to eliminate. I don't keep eliminating spots. And now Chase is running for 2 spots with 5 guys who haven't won yet. And we're going to put 16 winners in the race.
That's funny you mentioned
Chase could end up points champion in the whole series up until the playoffs and not make the playoffs.
When I was watching the Bristol when I was watching the Bristol race, never ever have I ever watched NASCAR 9 races in and said, "Man, we got to find a way to win. We got to get this monkey off our back and not worry about winning." Because I'm like, damn, there's 36 races this year. Or 30 plus races this year. It's, it goes from February to November. Not worried about it. Watching that Bristol race and seeing Kyle Busch kind of fade back into third, I'm like, damn, he's not going to be able to compete. I said to myself, this is another one where go ahead, mark it off the list. We're not going to be able to get a win. And when he won, that's probably the most excited I've gotten, regardless of how it finished. But because now I can watch for the next 3 months and not have that pressure of knowing my guy doesn't have to win now.
And you could pick him.
No. That's not why.
I imagine we're just fans of our drivers. We all have our drivers that we like, and we're feeling pressure for our drivers because we're fans. Imagine what these teams are feeling right now.
Oh, yeah.
Imagine what's going on in the 9-car garage right now.
Yeah,
going on in the 19-car garage. Going on in Gibbs Racing.
Yep.
Other than Kyle, nobody's won yet. Hamlin won.
Yeah.
So they got 2 of their 4 in. But, SHR. Do they have anybody in?
Briscoe.
Yeah. Chase Briscoe's the only one in. So, you got your big superstar, your brand, Harvick not in. There's a lot of these big name drivers right now, these most valuable or most popular drivers that they're feeling a lot more pressure than anybody right now. And its season's not even half over yet. That's the amazing thing. You call it a 26 race season because the last 10 are playoffs.
Right.
You get eliminated at the 26th race. You're done. And then you're just parading around trying to collect points so you can collect money. That's all you're doing. But anyway, go ahead, Joe.
Steve, I just want to let you know that you are the only one out of the 3 of us that your driver hasn't won yet.
I know.
So, and both of you are still sitting there wondering who my driver is because I've never displayed that to you.
I don't know, Ryan. Did you even care?
I don't know what lower back tattoo he has, and I don't really care to find out.
I don't really care.
You guys want to see something funny? Speaking of tattoos.
Not if it's that.
Yeah, check this out. Let's see if I can get this up here. I have a Stewie tattoo. What do you think about that, Steve?
I think that's TMI in the truest sense of the word.
That's a gang in Southeast Indiana, Steve. That's what that is.
Right. That's
Oh,
the
is
Stewie
it?
gang.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm a
Oh,
gang
okay.
member. Let's get to our picks. But before we get to our picks, I want to remind everybody that The Grueling Truth is powered by betting.net. Betting.net is your best bet for finding an online casino or sports book that's right for you. Who wants to pick first this week?
Might as well let the week-winning champ go.
Yeah, I think you're up.
I think we let the leader go. I don't think Joe's picked first in a while.
Okay, I'll pick first.
I'm still trying to pick my 5.
In-depth research going on right now.
There is.
Knowing that every super speedway can kind of be a crapshoot, I think you have to go with people who historically run well on super speedways. But at the end of the day, I don't think that matters either. So I'm going to go with some of my tried and true favorites here. I'm going to go with Hamlin.
That was one way to kill the confidence by yourself, Joe, of your picks before you made your picks.
Oh, yeah.
You essentially said you can tell who's won and done well here, but that also doesn't mean anything. So here's my 5 guys.
That's pretty much it. It doesn't mean anything. JJ Yaley could win this week.
You're right.
No, he couldn't.
No,
But
you're not. We could.
JJ Yaley ran. He got up to the 13th position.
Hey, Joe, you're an hour into this.
I know, Steve.
All right. Well, you're the one pissing him on
You
about
talk
time.
for 30 seconds, man. He's all down your back.
I know. I haven't said 3 words the whole show. I start talking. He's like, hey, why don't you shut the hell up?
All right. I'm fine.
Anyway, my 5 drivers this week. Hamlin, Blaney, Larson, Elliott, Logano.
I'll go next. And you mentioned crapshoot. Well, these guys put the crap in crapshoot. So I will either have a week where I'm feeling really good about picking these guys because it's completely out of nowhere, or I cemented myself into third place even further. So I got Eric Jones, Austin Dillon, Ryan Blaney, Michael McDowell, and Chris Buescher. Yeah.
Jones, Dillon, Blaney, McDowell. You picked McDowell at Atlanta.
I did because I thought it would race like a restrictor plate.
Chris Buescher?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll be watching that like this. Going, what the hell?
I'm not going to say anything. I'm not going to say anything.
Every time you shit on my Austin Dillon pick, he finishes in the top 10. So I'm just going to keep picking him.
Yeah.
And then he wrecks my driver.
I think those are horrible picks.
That's fine. I got all 5 in like last week, just like Steve. I feel like if he would have done that, Steve, if Joe would have picked 5 picks in the top, all 5, he would have gave himself bonus points. No doubt about it.
The other thing, Ryan, he would have talked more. He would have talked more. So let's just be grateful he didn't.
Let's hear him, Steve.
I got Elliott, Blaney, Logano, Larson, and William Byron.
You don't like Hendrick, do you?
Love Hendrick. I'm gonna own Hendrick someday.
So you stole my drivers except Hamlin.
No, I had them written down before.
I only had one driver to steal, so I didn't have to worry about that.
I changed one driver, but none of you picked him, and that was Byron. I had Truex or Hamlin. Then I thought, William Byron's hot, and he's due for a super speedway win.
I took him off to put Chris Buescher just because I was like, I'm just doing straight wild card this week.
Yeah, it's fine because that's what you're gonna. It's the best race to do it in. If you're ever gonna do it, it's the best. But I almost took Bubba Wallace, but just couldn't pull the string.
Can't do it.
Just couldn't pull the string.
Just ran out of talent on your pick.
So I got Elliott, Blaney, Logano, Larson, and Byron.
I would like to sit in the room with the odds compilers when they give the odds on drivers for winning the race, just to see what they're thinking. Because when you talk about a race like this, I mean, what makes you like? I think Bubba Wallace is the 3rd or 4th place favorite this week.
Yeah, he's finished in the top 3.
Yeah.
In like 3 of the last restrictor plate races.
What are you going off of? You're not going off performance this year, obviously. So I don't know. Does anybody have any last words on the show tonight?
I think we could talk all night long, but
Ryan, I thought you did a great job. Did you think I did a great job?
I thought you did, Steve. I think that you're a little bit hard on Joe at some point, and we have to think about Joe's mental health outside of the camera.
Okay.
But I don't think you're going to change, so just keep being you.
So you mean I should just look at him and say, fuck Joe?
That's exactly what I just said.
Okay, that's what I thought. Yeah.
Yep. Loud and clear.
Yeah. All right.
That hurt my feelings, Steve.
Good.
Well, I thought we had a great show. Ryan, I thought you did well tonight as well. And I thought all of us did well. I thought we had a great show.
It'll look really good until my picks. I promise you that.
Right. Before we leave here, I want to thank everybody who tuned in to watch. If you did like the Grueling Truth NASCAR show, please like, follow, or subscribe on whatever platform you're watching. I'm Joe Spilman with Ryan Peters and Steve Risley. Everybody have a good night.